Good morning and welcome to America's Home Cooking. I was asked of how I use whey and stocks, so I will show you. I will use parboiled rice today instead of brown rice. This is whey that I have left over from when I made cottage cheese. This is all that's left of it except for what I've canned. So I'm just going to pour it in here. It will not affect the flavor, it'll just make it richer. When this is stock. You ask me how much I add. That's very difficult. Depends upon how much rice you're actually making. I like to use less, so as the rice cooks I can add more stock or water to it after I add all my stock. Sometimes I'll just finish adding water to it. Now I know that I just gave you the pepper ronata, salt and pepper to your taste. They always say do that at the end on that dish. Okay, so we're going to bring this to a boil. The stocks that I just put in to a boil as I try to get this rice drained. Stay there. Please do not fall, I'll have a mess. Now I'm going to use my salt mixture on this because I'm comfortable with using it. Now I added a lot of stock to this. Add a little water, send the stock out. I sort of play around with it. The stock looks really thick. I'll add some water to thin it out some. You learn to do that. That's very hard to make a judgment call because my stocks are not the kind that you get in a container at the store. I actually collect my vegetable peelings and stuff in the autumn. You wouldn't guess it right now, but in the summer I have so much stock. I'll sit there and make a compost and just bury it in my garden. But we have to bring this to a boil, and we're going to dump this rice in. Okay, the stock is boiling now. Now the only time I cook rice and I do not use a stock or anything in it and I just use plain water is if I'm making rice pudding. I found out the hard way, it interferes too much. So if you're making rice pudding, just make rice the regular way with water because the flavoring is going to come through the milk and all. Now I'm going to bring this to a boil. That's what I'm doing right now. Don't want it to boil over. That's why I'm standing here. I'm not going to come over because I know if I come over there, put you on pause, this is going to boil over. It's already starting. simmer and leave it. The rice will slowly cook and absorb all of that. If you need more fluid, this is when you start adding a little bit of water, and you keep adding it until you get the rice to the point of doneness. And that's how I cook with stocks when I cook my pasta. And I'll show you when we're done. Now my rice was dry, it needed more fluid. So I finished up using the stock that you saw on the counter, and I added this much water to it. Now we'll let it continue cooking. I didn't turn it up. I just left the temperature where it was and let it do what it has to do. Okay. I'm stirring this around to see if there's any fluid in the bottom, and there isn't. So now I'm going to taste the rice and see how much more cooking it needs. Not quite done, so I'm going to add a little more water and hope this takes care of it. And I never touch the temperature, it's still on simmer. So as it gets more cooked, you'll see I'm using less and less and less water, getting it to that point of doneness. This way you don't burn it, you don't overcook it. The rice is done, and that's how I make my rice. Be it wild rice, blended rice, parboiled. I'm not gonna say white rice because that's the only time I use it is when I'm making rice pudding. Anyway, take care and have a lovely day.